It is said that RUTO has ordered for a new presidential jet. The cost will be very expensive. Allow me to comment. Allow me to comment about RUTO buying a new jet, about presidential planes, especially in Kenya and the USA. Other countries have the same, but allow me just to talk about presidential plane in Kenya and in the USA. I am one of the people who have viewed that it is very bold for RUTO to correct everything as much as he can before, instead of handing over problems to the sixth president. But I believe that in his quest to solve all those problems, some of them can wait. Some of them can wait. It's like I'm talking as a Luhya. A Luhya can eat a whole chicken, but you see, you eat, rest a bit, eat, rest a bit, eat, rest a bit. In an hour's time, there'll be even bones will be smashed. So you can do everything. You can scatter the plants. You don't have to do all of them at a go. So that at the end of your term, we look at the number of years you have served and what you have done and said, he tried. We have had 4 presidents. Of course, it is agreed that Kibaki handed over the country better. That one is agreed. Well, had it not been the problem of MOU and the disputed 2007 election, if Kibaki would have just been elected 2007, the way he was elected in 2002, and if Kibaki would not have been elected while sick in the year 2002, Kenya would have been maybe even a second world state. Anyway, that has gone. Everybody agrees that Kibaki left Kenya better than he did. But one thing, because uh, when Ruto was looking for votes, he used to say that he'll follow Kibaki's whatever. But once he has taken it, he's saying that he's a combination of all of them. And we know a combination of everything. In the morning, we take tea with sugar. Lunch, we take salt. The morning, we take whatever. But in the afternoon, in the lunch and supper, we take pilipili and so on. So if you have to take all the food that we take in a day, you take sugar, you take salt, you add pilipili, you add your stomach. So everything you can do all these things, but you can do them with a plan. You can do them with a plan, such that at such a time you do this and such a time you do that. You don't have to do all of them at a go. Yes, Ruto has several good plans, of which it is impossible to correct them in one presidential term in 10 years. It is only good that he picks, he gives them priorities in 2 matters. One, the importance of that thing, and the affordability of Kenya. Then at the end of his term, hopefully 10 years, he can look back and say, I set to do 10 things and I've done 4. I have tried. So that is what is But when it comes to the presidential plane, I believe personally, as a security expert, I believe that the presidential plane is a priority. Presidential plane is a priority. Yes, it is expensive, but let us look at it holistically. If you check on my upload upon the death of General Ogola, let me repeat what I said when General Ogola died. When people said that Ogola has been taken down, surprising, one of the people who was saying that was, of all people, Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. I said that General Ogola had taken off from Kainuk, overflew Turkwel Gorge and Seker Hills up to Marich Pass. I did that as somebody who has worked there, somebody who was in charge of all that area as far as security is concerned, all the way from Amolem. So reaching Marich Pass, he turned left or eastward. He turned left or eastward. He overflew Kokotendwa. Kokotendwa was in his right and Lomut was on his left. He fell along the Cheptulel Hills around Chesagon at the border of West Pokot and Elgeyo Marakwet. In that video, I said several things. For example, Kenya gets donated used military planes. I said that perhaps his death would be a wake-up call for the government. To some extent, one can say I celebrated his death. What if, I asked, it was the president's jet? It is there in that video. I said, supposing it was the president's jet that had fallen. I said that very many planes have fallen with soldiers dying in them. So I said, perhaps because the general's death, the government would pull up their socks. I said, and I still ask, supposing it was the president's jet that fell. I asked during the Ogola death, and I will ask, when was the president's plane last bought? When Kenyan president plane, when was it bought? Or we wait until the accident claims the commander-in-chief so that we start rushing here and saying all matter of things. Okay, the president is the president, but if it is anybody else who dies, whether if he's as close to the president as Ogola was to Ruto, we still said that he was brought down. What if it is somebody who is in the opposition and something like that? We do nothing in Kenya. We wait for such things to happen. And what do we do after those things have happened? We turn up and start blaming. 2 months after the person has been buried, you try to talk about, who you are. Hiyo story iliisha, hiyo ilienda namna hiyo. Let us now go back to the Kenyan presidential jet. Did you know that they are owned by the Kenya Air Force? That is why their number plate is KAF, then something. The Kenyan president has 3 similar jets. He has 3 similar jets. One is bigger than the other 2, but the other 2 are of the same size. But if you look at them, unless they are placed side by side, you'll not know that they are of a different sizes. But one is bigger than the other 2. This one is meant for longer trips and larger delegation. But if it is within let's say Africa or something, the two president can use either of the two. Now let us ask ourselves, when were these three planes bought? They were bought during the Moi time. It is Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi who bought them, or his government bought them. What does that mean? They mean that the planes are over 25 years old. The planes are over 25 years old. I'm not an expert in aviation, but a plane being 25 years, especially a security plane, being over 25 years, in my opinion, that is an old plane. We are not, I've just talked about the plane, isn't it? We have not even talked about the items inside. Yes, the plane, they can remove the whole engine and place there a new engine and something like that. That is okay. That would mean it's a new plane. Even communication gadgets. Communication gadgets. Let me just remind myself about communication. Phone calls, internet, WhatsApp call. Was there a WhatsApp call during the 1998? Well, I don't know. Compare the technology as far as communication and security affairs. What do we call the skies security between 1998 and today? It is very much advanced. Uh, you'll find that every just leave alone the plane. Okay, the plane itself. I'm sure they now come up with the new planes with smaller engines that travel further, that they use less fuel, uh, ABCD. But then we have also looked at the items there. We looked at the items there, the communication items, the security items, because like the U.S. Air Force One has jamming facilities. When it is around, where the people in Kenya may have noticed that when Obama was around, every place he was, you could not use your mobile phone. There were jammings and whatever. Rather, there is a way of even seeking incoming missiles. Such security things have got to be done. And things to do with security, things to do with things to do with security, things to do with communication, this internet and whatever, they change very, very fast. So, in that way, I would support the president having a new plane. And they're talking of one. So it shows that it is quite possible that all the three will not be replaced. Maybe RUTO will replace with one and then continue that way until he replaces all the three. Let us now move to the USA. In the USA, each president, while retiring, he retires with his Air Force One. The Air Force One is a Boeing 747 that is converted into a moving a moving White House. It is converted into a White House in the sky. It has a hotel inside. It has a living area. It has an office area there, and so on and so forth. So in American system, when the president is retiring, he goes home with his Air Force One. In America, the president has two very similar Air Force One plane. Each plane The only difference is if you check the tail number is different. For example, I can't recall, but for example, one has tail numbers number 7500 and the other one has 7200. That is, I'm just giving those two examples for you to understand. Whenever the president travels, he travels in the two with the two. He's always in one, so that when it develops any problem or whatever, it can be recovered later, and the president can come back with the other one. So in the American, and when the president becomes the president, they ask him how to how he would want the Air Force One to be modeled. He'd want how to know how he would want the Air Force to be modeled. He has personal tests on such and such a thing. You'll find that the new Air Force One is made with those specifications and the new security features. And when the president is retiring, I said one of the two planes is taken to museum. There is a place called Presidential Museum, and the other one is taken to another personal presidential museum. Because if you go to where Reagan came from, California, you'll find that the plane is parked outside his home. So people are shown when Reagan was the president, this used to be his Air Force One. So America, every president coming out will have a new, and we will go home with his, will have a new Air Force One, and will go home with one of his Air Force Ones. But before, during what do you call, we have this inauguration time where the new president is being inaugurated. The old president goes to the to with his Air Force One, goes to goes to the inauguration with the old Air Force One. And as the inauguration is going on, all security features are removed from that. So that when he comes 5 minutes after becoming ex-president, the plane is just like any other plane in there. And he cannot use it for commercial flights because for moving here and there, because the fuel, first of all, that is used in that plane. So the plane is just retired and it goes to his home area. But funny thing is, after Reagan retired, the current Air Force One, the two of them were bought by George Bush Jr. Is it George Bush Jr. or George Bush Sr.? Yeah. One of the George Bushes, is, I think, George Bush Jr. Yeah. George Bush Jr. is the one who bought this current Air Force One. When he left, he was not given the planes. The planes continued serving even up to today. It was the last the last plane that was retired with the president. The last Air Force One which was retired with Reagan. Uh, the car the current plane is I'm getting a bit confused, but Reagan has an Air Force One plane at his home, yes, but the current plane that is there is the one which was bought during the time of George Bush Jr. It was bought. So when he left, he never left with the plane, and it has been going on. So because of the changes and whatever, there is need to have a new plane. There's a need to have a new plane, and that is why what do you call, Trump? That is why Trump is getting a new plane. But there is a challenge here, a very interesting challenge here. You know, getting a new plane is involving a lot, especially in the American system. Because, for example, if a new Air Force One is being built, they're called, which is the company that produces a jumbo jet. After producing the jumbo jet, they'll produce it in a way that like any other jumbo jet. Nowadays, there are no jumbo jets, but they can make specifically one for the president. Once it arrives at the Air Force, it is dismantled and why? Each each bolt and nut will be inspected by the military intelligence to find out if among the people who are producing it, if there was anybody who was a spy and has placed there a listening device or even um, a hidden camera. So yes, it is made, it is dismantled. One, two. After it is being dismantled, after it has been dismantled, then it is reassembled. When it is reassembled, then they start putting on the new things. How does the president want his living quarter to be? How does he want his office to be? How where will be, whatever. And each president is supposed to do that. It is even now. America has always opined that it is very expensive for their president to have that, and they have been postponing. It is when Qatar, or is it Qatar, one of the Gulf countries, that said that they are going to give the American president a free plane. Trump has accepted for it, but how long does it make for it to be, for the specification to be made? How is it for the specification to be made to fit a presidential? It takes a lot of time, leave alone money, but time. Because as I said, it has to be dismantled to check if there is anything that has been placed there for spying purposes. Then it has to be reassembled. Being reassembled, it has to be constructed in such a way that it is a White House in the sky. It has to be like a White House in the sky. It has to have modern communication gadget. So in short, they are saying that by the time it will be ready, Trump would be about, like now he has completed how many years? Uh, if it comes, he will have to use it maybe for a year or something. And so when he retires, he will retire with it. That is the arrangement that was that has been made. Yes, you are making it. Gulf states are offering that, but once Trump goes, he'll go away. Will go home with it. Now, why is the helicopter by the president in America called Marine One? I'm even told that Kenyan president's plane is called Kenya One, Kenya Air Force One. Uh, they are okay. If I would not have joined the intelligence, I would have become a signaler. Habari zimfikie Fred Obachi Machoka. Habari zimfikie, oh, Isaiah Tunga is dead. Those are the signalers who, during my secondary school day, really motivated me. And I remember during the operation, West Pokot operation in 1984, I worked in the radio room and everybody was impressed. Everybody was impressed with my handling of the radio room. Just before I went for the signals course, intelligence came. Now, we have something that is called call sign. Call sign. Don't confuse it with call. Okay, people pronounce it as cosine. Like you remember in maths, we used to have cosine, sines and cosine. It is call sign. The sign you use while calling somebody. Now in Kenyan, when they were talking, remember when a new president has been elected, he's called president-elect. In Kenya, the call sign for president-elect in Kenya is Hotel Echo 2. Hotel Echo 2. So when people are moving around and whatever, all traffic police officers with the radio calls, they'll be told, Hotel Echo 2 is coming. You know, President-elect is given the same, is given more security than a vice president, but below the president. So he's the second most important person. So each and these things that are called over, radio call, there is what we call sign, call sign. So uh, you'll be surprised that the presidential jet, people call it Air Force One. No, it is not Air Force One. It is not Air Force One. Why is it called Air Force One? Let us take it this way. Let us take the Kenyan president. Recently, it was said that he went to some country where he hired a private jet, isn't it? He hired a private jet, and it cost Kenya so much, whatever. There are even times when the president travels with. We have had even countries. President just joins Kenya Airways and goes. I think even in Kenya we may have had that. That Kenya Airways, when it is moving from Nairobi to Kinshasa, for example, and the president is in it, every place it, you know, they have route, they have call signs themselves. For example, KQ flight 614, yeah, that is their call sign. Flight 614 overflowing Kampala. But when the president is in that plane, any plane that the president is in, that plane ceases using its call sign and calls itself Kenya 1. Or if it is in the US and the president is boarding any other plane apart from those two planes that we call Air Force One, if the president is in Panam and it is bypassing somewhere, then it is called Air Force One. The meaning of Air Force One, it means that the commander in chief is in this plane. So, yes, the president, I said there were two Air Force Ones, isn't it? Now they go, or in Kenya we have three. The president goes with one of them to Mombasa. So as he's going, the pilot will be telling those around that Kenya Air Force One is passing. The president reaches Mombasa, takes the other plane. This other plane that he had will okay. Each plane has its own call sign. But once the president has entered your plane, it ceases using that call sign that it was given, and it will be called Air Force One. The American president, when he's leaving the White House, going to is it Andrew, the main airfield, he leaves with an helicopter. The helicopter is owned by the Marine. So when the president is in an helicopter, the American president, it is called Marine One. But when he is in any plane, it is called Air Force One. I used the opportunity of the rumors that Kenyan president wants to buy a new plane. I used that opportunity to explain about Air Force One and any plane that is used by any president anywhere in the world. The call sign is just the same, and that is how basically it is. They change a few things to suit local environment.